Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be doing a complete review of the Leopard 2AV, a currently rank 6 9.7 BR main battle tank / medium tank event vehicle for the German Ground Forces tech tree. I'll go over everything that you need to know before you decide to pick this vehicle up or not, including its stats, how it plays, its strengths and weaknesses. I'll give it some ratings in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation on if I think that this vehicle is worth purchasing or not. As always, if you like this sort of video, please consider subscribing and you'll be a cool dude. That said, let's get into the video. Now first, let's put the Leopard 2AV stats here on the side of the screen. Stats to note are its speed, turret traverse, and of course, cannon size. Now with that out of the way, let's go over how it plays. Well, it plays exactly like the Leopard 2A4, even despite the fact that the 2AV has a smaller 105mm cannon and slightly less armor in several key areas. The 2AV still has upwards of 400mm of armor pen with its top APF SDS shell, and still has sufficient armor to stop many rounds from entering the vehicle, whether from the turret or even the hull, at least from the front. Ultimately, this means that you can play a variety of roles, including frontlining due to its good armor and sufficiently powerful cannon, or you could play support in an up tier, which you will almost always be in, or you can even flank in either an up tier or an incredibly rare down tier, due to the 2AV's excellent speed, turret traverse, and powerful cannon. In all, this is a do-everything sort of vehicle, and while its reload is a bit middling, at between 6.7 and 8.7 seconds depending on crew skill, it still has fast enough reload for a few well-placed follow-up shots. Where the 2AV fails is that it lacks the extra power of the excellent 120mm L44 cannon that the 2A4 has, as well as the fact that the AV only has night vision and no thermals, which is a huge disadvantage in night maps, as almost every other vehicle at or around this BR has thermals. But at least it is a 9.7 BR tank as opposed to 10.0, which in theory helps to make up for these disadvantages. In summary, however, the 2AV, much like pretty much every other Leopard 2, is a jack-of-all-trades tank that can play how you want, whether it's flanking, frontlining, supporting, sniping, or whatever role that you can essentially think of. And now for its strengths and weaknesses, and first I'll go over its strengths. It has a very good cannon that, while not the largest size, still has over 400mm of armor pen at 9.7 BR, which is pretty good and can still do massive post-pen damage. Second, the 2AV features excellent mobility that will allow you to zoom around the map better than most vehicles, including even some light tanks. Third, it has excellent turret traverse of between 28 and 40 degrees per second, depending on crew skill. Fourth, it has very good armor that protects the front of the vehicle against heat FS, autocannons, some ATGMs, and even some APF SDS, depending on how they hit you. For its fifth strength, it has a total of 16 smoke grenades that go off in 2 smoke grenade charges, giving you the ability to provide very long-lasting smoke coverage. For the sixth strength, the 2AV has 3 LMGs, with 2 of them being top-mounted for extra flexibility, giving you the ability to score assists or even occasionally kills against aircraft and some ground vehicles. For its seventh strength, it has blowout panels for the ammunition in the turret, meaning that an ammo rack is not necessarily a death sentence. Now beyond this, the 2AV features excellent gunner optics of up to 12 times and good commander optics of up to 8 times. And finally, to cap off this very long list of strengths, it has very good reverse speed of up to 31 kilometers per hour. And now for the 2AV's weaknesses. While it at least has night vision, it still lacks the thermals that most tanks have at or around this BR. Now second, while the cannon is very good, most tanks at this BR are starting to use the 120mm cannons, which places this on the lower end of cannon size spectrum for MBTs. Now for its third weakness, while it has good frontal armor, rear and side armor is generally lacking, especially for the hull. Even the turret is a bit lacking in side and rear armor, even in comparison to the Leopard 2A4, as the 2AV has its composite armor reduced dramatically around halfway to the rear of the side of the turret. Now fourth, it has fairly large weak spots, namely the gunner sight and the gun mantlet, both of which will lead to an easy kill or disablement from the front. And finally, the 2AV has a middling to mediocre reload speed that can be 6.7 seconds at best, whereas the 2A4 can get down to 6 seconds with a bigger and better penning cannon and and the similar BR Challenger DS can get all the way down to 5 seconds with a 120mm cannon. And now with all that out of the way, let's get into how I scored this vehicle. First, for its armament, I give it a 7 out of 10. While this isn't the largest cannon for its BR, with other German 120mm cannons beating it out, as well as the Russian 125mm cannons, the L7A3 on the Leopard 2AV still packs plenty of armor pen with its DM33 shell that can shoot through over 400mm of armor. Even the DM23 shell, which has 337mm of armor pen at max, is still a decent enough shell to carry you through the grind, so long as you know the weak spots in other tanks. Regardless, between the decent reload, strong armor pen at 9.7, fantastic accuracy, and good post-pen damage, the 105mm L7A3 cannon is still a major force to be reckoned with at 9.7 BR, or even in up tiers. Plus, some very minor bonus points for having a total of 3 LMGs, which is surprisingly nice and useful. And now for survivability, I give the 2AV a 6 out of 10. While the 2AV is not quite as well armored as the 2A4, with typically about 20 to 50mm of reduced composite armor in areas like the front of the turret and the hull, it can still do pretty well in stopping a huge amount of enemy shells at or around 9.7 BR. While it isn't perfect, the 2AV has excellent armor that can still take shots from DM23, DM33, and Heat FS shells on the turret face and even on the upper glacis, so long as it's angled. Plus, as mentioned before, the front of this vehicle is more or less immune to autocannons, barring an errant shot entering through the turret ring or lower glacis, of which will happen to almost everyone every now and again. Aside from the poor side armor, which can be said about essentially every MBT, the 2AV feels like it can handle damage pretty darn well. Now for mobility, I give the Leopard 2AV an 8 out of 10. The Leopard 2AV has a 1500 horsepower engine, with a total tank weight of 55.2 tons, which means that the 2AV has a tremendous power to weight ratio of about 27.2 horsepower per ton when fully upgraded. This excellent power gives you the ability to move faster than most or all tanks on the battlefield, barring some light tanks, which in turn will give you the ability to fight how you want, as you can outpace the enemy in most situations, including flanking, brawling, and just regular frontline work. And now overall, I give it a 7 out of 10. While the 2AV isn't as good at 9.7 as the Leopard 2A4 is, or for that matter the premium Leopard 2A4 is at 10.0 BR, the 2AV is still an excellent vehicle that holds up to the lineage of the Leopard 2 family very well. It is a very balanced vehicle between its armor, speed, and power, and can give most or all tanks that it will face a run for their money. And now for my final recommendation. Should you purchase this vehicle? Well, yes and no. Yes, if you have the excess funds to purchase a non-premium tank at a bloated marketplace price, of which will likely be over $60 USD, but no if you have yet to purchase other options such as the premium Leopard 2A4, or if you simply just don't have the money. Seriously guys, do not spend money that you don't have, especially on this video game. While the 2AV is an excellent vehicle in its own right, it falls just shy of the 2A4 in how good it is, regardless of BR, and is also not a premium like the 2A4 is, meaning that the 2AV will not help you grind the tech tree outside of rank 5 through rank 7, and even then it will still not give you the bonuses for RP and SL like premium vehicles such as the premium Leopard 2A4. In all, while a very good vehicle again in its own right, I feel that the 2AV, due to its non-premium status and overall less than feeling compared to the premium 2A4, or even other premiums like the Terms, the ZTZ96AP, and Challenger DS, is a good lineup filler if you really need it and have the money to buy it without any other glaring needs that you could purchase first. Otherwise, while this is a good vehicle that I don't think anyone should be upset with if they grinded for it during the event, it is not at all a requirement in anyone's lineup and will not be an improvement over any one vehicle that you can otherwise get by grinding. That is to say that the Leopard 2AV is a Leopard 2, which is great, but it is no more or no less. It is simply as good, but not so fantastic that I think that you should spend much money on it. So yes, I like this vehicle, but I cannot recommend it for purchase, at least if the price is over $45 USD. As it is a redundant vehicle, it should only be looked at if you somehow have a glaring need for more Leopard 2s and haven't already purchased the premium 2A4 or even the Leopard A1A1 L44. But that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you guys think about this vehicle and the video in the comments below. Either way though, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care everyone.